Hey everyone, will alcohol and cannabis be one day sold in the same outlet? To learn more, we had former Diageo executive and now chairman of Humble Fume, Jakob Ripshtein on. Here's was his response and why you should care if you're an investor. Hey everyone, welcome to the Dales Report, and happy to be joined here on the podcast today, the newly appointed chairman of the board of directors of Humble Fume, Jakob Ripshtein joins us. It's been a long time, but finally have you here.
Good to see you again.
How
Good to
are
see you
things?
again. Things are good. Things are working out quite nicely. I mean, it's a great industry. It's been and will be. So quite exciting. What's going on?
Exactly. It's good to see your face back in the game. I know that you've been involved with the company for quite some time, but how excited was it, to your newly appointed position of chairman of this company? But I know you've got a big name within the cannabis industry. Obviously, your previous ties with Diageo. We all know the stuff that was going on a couple years ago with the free and that. But let's learn about the opportunity that you're at right now. Like why this specific company, and what's the opportunity that it presents?
So there's a lot of great companies in the industry. Choosing which one to be associated actually has to do more with the company, the future, and the people in it work with you on a daily basis. You have to believe that the company and the makeup and the people, because companies have names on the door. It's really the people behind it that makes a difference. And I know this individual quite well, between Sean and Joel for a long time. Big fan of them for a long time. And it just makes sense to be part of a great opportunity to create something new and different. Join the company in a capacity you can be involved and really with the future to a certain extent, and rely on the people that are actually running it today and run it in the future. So the opportunity is unbelievable. Humble Fume, both the past and the future, is set up to be a great success in this industry. So it's quite exciting.
When you sit here and say you want to do something new, something different, what's changed about the industry today that what we're in, say, versus say 5 years ago?
You can see a difference about 3 years now, give or take, in Canada, quite a few years in the US. You can see the confidence on the investment community is a bit different now. What attract people to companies is a bit different now, a bit more than a bit, it's different now. I think what the future hold in terms of setting up for success is different. With the old, years ago and the beginning, and every news release created a buzz and everything went up in value. So there's a bit different. There's fundamentals should be there. You want to join a company or partner or invest in a company with grown-ups around the table, with clear strategy and clear pathway to success. I know Humble Fume is one of those. We truly believe in it, especially with the recent announcement with the Johnson Brothers in the US. So that's really what it is. It's an industry which requires more effort and real planning and a strategy to be successful. And Humble Fume has that.
Where do you see the cannabis retail landscape over time? Because we've learned a lot to this point, and we're, again, still in the very early stages, even though it seems like we've been involved in this industry for a long, long time. But where do you, honestly, when you're speaking with investors, what do you share with them about how you see this whole retail landscape over time?
So listen, it's changing. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I can see the big chains are coming in. You have to find an differentiating proposition. Some would argue there's quite a few now, and there's maybe too much density in the retail, so you have to be more creative and tied to consumer demands and needs more than anything else. So it's more challenging. There's no doubt about it. And I think it's not going to stop anytime soon. So we'll continue. And you want to partner with companies both on the product side and the distribution side who can actually help you be successful in this high density industry. Now, not everywhere in the country, to be honest, but if you look at Toronto, I mean, you can see how many stores when you go out, how many dispensaries exist on any street you go. And so you have to be smart and a good retailer when it comes to that.
Do you see cannabis and alcohol ever being sold together in the same outlets?
Interesting. I don't know in the same outlet, but listen, we were a place where never believed we we're going to see wine and spirit, or at least wine and beer in the grocery store. Can I see it? I think people are going to get more comfortable with it. It is a CPG product. It's a commodity. People are going to get more comfortable. I don't know if every product in cannabis will be on the shelf of a liquor store. There's some places in the world you see already spirit infused with cannabis. Can I see a path to see stuff? Absolutely. I don't think it's anytime soon. But I don't notice see every category in spirit will be the same. But I wouldn't say no to that because I have no reason to say no. I don't know if it's going to be, but I don't see a reason to say no again. We see stuff today we didn't
I
see
know.
30, 40, 50 years ago. Don't forget the old LCBO, it used to
Right.
buy spirit. Now you go and you shop around. You used to go behind the counter. So things are moving.
Industry will evolve. I think it's just a matter of people being patient. And it's tough for patience in the world we live in right now. It's crazy. I always talk about that. But, you've announced you're going to say something. Sorry.
No, I'm saying, it's an evolving industry. I know the product has been for a while from a legality perspective. So the industry is not new. The industry has been
Sure.
for many, many thousands of years. The legal
Right.
industry is new. So there's no doubt it's evolving. People are learning, we're getting more comfortable. Just compared to the industry today and the way we shop today to versus 3 years ago, even the product you see today on the shelf versus 3 years ago, there's no doubt there's more change to come. And therefore, companies who are sophisticated, smart, and have the sight of the strategy will be successful. But you have to have that to be successful, no doubt about it.
Well, when we look at the U.S. market, as you said earlier, you signed this big distribution deal with Johnson Brothers. For those that don't know, is a multi-billion-dollar company, one of the biggest distribution alcohol companies in the U.S. We know branding is going to be huge. Distribution is obviously going to be huge. So let's learn a little bit more. We've had Sean on in the past as well, but I'd like to learn from you specifically with your background, your business connections. What do you think this distribution opportunity presents for your shareholders that gives you, I don't want to say an advantage, but definitely puts you on the map?
No, you
Yeah.
can use that word.
Okay.
You can use that word. Absolutely, absolutely. You know what? Humble Fume has been a great success in Canada, both on the accessories and now into the product of cannabis world. It started pathway in the US. We wanted to make sure we partner with a great company that have the same philosophy, the same background, the same values, and ready to grow in this great industry. And what they have, obviously, as you can imagine, being part of the distribution spirit in the US, is a great knowledge of distribution. They are, the spirit, the size of them gives them a great knowledge and insight on how to distribute in the US across 50 states. So the partnership is an advantage for both sides. The knowledge of the cannabis world you get from a Humble Fume, the knowledge of US distribution you get from a Johnson Brothers. We talk about strategy and pathway and opportunity to leverage. I would argue it's second to none what Humble Fume is now.
Does a lot of this distribution partnership that was announced, does a lot of it come from the business contacts that you have, Jakob?
Yeah, listen, it's a big industry from value. It's a fairly small industry from people wise. Reputation is a
Yeah.
key part of it. There's Joel, Sean, myself. It's just relatively small. Like the connection was made there, but obviously, with all the good connections, it had to make sense for both companies to see
Yeah.
the future and be aligned. And obviously, that's the case. So you argue you open the door, but there's no doubt you have to show real business opportunity, and obviously the both sides saw it.
Well, one of the things I talked about with Sean in the past when he was on, like we look at the state of California and there's as many as 1,000 different brands and like 800 retail outlets. So where does one even start and begin with that? So when we talk about this distribution partnership, we all talk about California being the biggest market opportunity, but probably the most challenging and the most competitive to say the least. So when you think about the California strategy and this distribution, how does this come to fruition to be a leader in the space within that market?
Actually, it's interesting. First of all, we talk about California, but the opportunity is a U.S. wide at one point in time. No, again, it's
Yeah.
not legal everywhere. Break versus medical. So we're not gonna break obviously any kind of a regulatory issue, but just as an opportunity for the future. From California perspective, again, if you have a company that understands the cannabis world and it's Humble Fume resources we have and past we have, it's unbelievable. You have somebody who understands distribution. You have people who understand branding within Humble Fume and in Johnson Brothers. You can see where all these formula we see 1+1 equal to a much greater number than two. In terms of adding all these past experiences, current activities, and where the future is going, it doesn't take a lot of imagination to understand that if you put all these together in one equation, the outcome of owning, not necessarily owning, but being part of a big market like California it doesn't take much.
What was your response on safe banking in the NDAA last week?
Listen, it's moving targets, and we see where it's going to land eventually. At least it's still in the conversation. It didn't deliver what everybody was hoping for, but at least it's still up front in the conversation, which is the right thing to do. Safe back. We need to see what the regulation will be, exactly the language, decide what it means. But there's no doubt, as long as we can keep it up front in the conversation, is the good thing.
Let's focus on Canada. You just signed a deal with Pax Labs, which, as everyone knows, a premium app-controlled vaporizing technologies and devices provider for the commercialization and distribution of Pax-branded vaporizing products in Canada. So tell us a little more about this partnership and how Pax fits into your product portfolio.
I'll tell you what I would say about that. And obviously, the guys are doing a great job. Joel and the team is doing a great job. And the entire community is doing a job in terms of adding brands and capabilities.
It's a great brand.
Pax has been around for a long time. It's a great brand. I think it should show people the confidence companies and brands have with Humble Fume. Resource-wise, capabilities-wise, market reach-wise. I think that's more than anything else, because there's a lot of good brands, and obviously there's quite a few representing already and more to come. But I think more than anything else, you can see the confidence big brands who've been a while trusting Joel and the team to drive the business. It's a great testament for what the team can do, and that's how you get them. So, back to the question about the US, we have the knowledge about branding to take good brands and make them bigger and larger and better. And that capability just goes through with the people into the US market, no doubt about it.
Do you find right now that based on the team and the experience that you had, especially in the early days of the Canadian cannabis landscape, that you're garnering a lot of attention from bigger names and brands that other companies cannot do?
Yeah, I tell you, I do believe we have the up there in terms of, again, there's a lot of names on the door. It's the people behind that drive the business. People like Sean and Joel and the rest of the team, I can name other names in the group, bring that confidence and the knowledge and the expertise into the industry. And brands who want to grow and develop Canada, US, will need that comfort. That's where Johnson Brothers comes in. It's a known name with known capabilities and known results. This is not a new venture into a new opportunity. These are names and business have been a long time so they know what they're doing. It's an easy way to explain it. And again, we have brands like Pax coming in. There's a reason. They know how to choose. It's a great brand. They're very selective. They can be selective who they select to work with them. And I believe that it's it's a reason why they chose Humble Fume.
So we get a lot of attention within the U.S. market. Canada obviously cannot be overlooked. It perhaps is maybe even more competitive than the U.S. market. So what do you think we've learned, from 4 or 5 years ago to where we are today? And, where do you see the growth potential within this market over the next 12 to 24 months, knowing that, like I said, it's a very competitive market right now?
If you look, there's so many things that have changed this industry in the past 3-4 years. It's unbelievable. I think one of the most dominant parts of change is the need to understand the consumer needs and wants. Companies, and I don't think all of them understand that, by the way. It's quite fascinating. Again, I had the luxury and the opportunity and the great fortune to work with companies like Diageo, where consumers, everything is about the consumer needs and wants. If you think about when do you drink, what do you drink, how do you drink, it's all about what you do. I think this industry, cannabis, is starting to realize that's where we're going. And what you'll find, quite a few companies on the branding side alone, and for that matter, distribution the same, like how do you get the brand into the hand of the consumer? Learning now that you can't ignore it. I believe that most of them don't have the capability to understand how to do it. It is a bit, it's not a bit, it is, there's some science into it and some knowledge and experience that you need. One thing you've seen in the last 3-4 years is the need to consider the consumer, their needs, the wants, the segmentations, the psychographic, what's going on with the psychographic, how they use consumer, when they consume stuff, friends or not friends, which means impact your branding and your communication and your pricing, your distribution, all that comes into play. And I think people are starting to realize it's a bit more complicated than just let's pack something and put some cannabis flower in a bag and sell it.
Well, I think for sure they're beginning to realize, the days of a quick buck, those days are over as the industry obviously matures. But you're right. It has changed so much. And
will continue to change. Again, we have to remember that this industry, there's still people who doesn't understand it, who doesn't want to, be associated with it. The stigma is still in some places. Even those who consume it, they consume different things in different times. And that's why, companies, I'll be honest, people like Sean and John and the rest of the team, and Joel there and the rest of the team, that knowledge is invaluable. You have to understand the industry to be able to market your brand. And when you take that and you add Johnson Brothers, it's an incredible opportunity, incredible knowledge base to start the conversation.
Where did that whole conversation begin with the Johnson brothers?
It's interesting. It started with a conversation we had internally at Humble, and a quick phone call about we should talk. And it took a long time, don't get me wrong, for a good reason.
I was going to say, it happens that quick?
No, listen, for good reason. People have to understand it is a cutting edge conversation and new to the industry. You know, if you look at many industries, there's moments when the equilibrium changes. I think that's one of them, in a good way. And testament to both sides to get there and to understand the opportunity and the collaboration behind it. So it was a quick phone call. It wasn't a quick process, and for the right reason, ending up, by the way, in a perfect place, in a really good place for both companies, for many reasons, for where it's going, where it's going to be now. So while the idea wasn't very hard, for lack of a better word, because if you think about it, like, I guess like many good ideas, you know, putting a great cannabis company, a great distribution company in the US, it's a wonderful thing. But the process was long and for the right reason, ending up in a really, really good place.
It's exciting stuff. Like watching the story, because these are one of the companies that a lot of great people in play and progress, definitely for sure, and big distribution partnerships. And I know that, you know, you've got quite an opportunity within the Canadian market, but you start in California. But I know, speaking to Joel as well in the past, the ideas of some of the states that you obviously want to tackle into the Midwest too. And, you know, as I said,
yeah, for sure. I mean, like it's wherever, you know, wherever it's legal and regulatory allowed it. I mean, that's an open market for an opportunity.
It's a big opportunity already being with one of the biggest distribution companies too, as this in.
No doubt about it. You know, it's beyond that. Being with one of the big distributors, being with the people in that distributor from a knowledge and just who they are as individual and the family. I think you know, beyond the business sense, the company's personality is very, very aligned, which is wonderful to see.
It's great. It's great catching up with you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and happy holidays and safe holidays for everybody.
You as well. Take care.